Hey everybody, Andre here at the Coach's Hangout. You may have heard the saying, never assume, because it makes a you-know-what out of you and me. But the reality is, sometimes when you're answering a multiple choice question, you need to make certain assumptions, and sometimes you don't. So how do you know? Well, in today's video, we're going to talk about the art of making assumptions, and in doing so, I'm going to let you into the mind of an examining body and how they think. But first, are you finding these videos helpful? Well, if so, please let us know so we can keep the content coming. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, and if you're enjoying a video, smash that like button. So how do examining bodies think? Well, whenever a new question is rolled out, they need to track the results from students. And if way too many students are getting a question wrong, it's either too hard or flawed in some way. And if way too many students are getting the question right, it's simply too easy. So let's just assume that the examining body wants between 60 and 70% of students to get the question right, because after all, most students have done the work and are prepared. So if you're making an assumption, pretty much everybody needs to be making that same assumption. Otherwise, how the heck are 60 to 70% of the students going to get the question right? So here's what I do to hold myself accountable. Whenever I'm making an assumption, I look around the room. Figuratively, I knew I was going to mess up that word. Figuratively, I messed it up again. You know what I'm saying? I look around the room. Not really. I don't want to be accused of cheating. But in my mind, I look around the room and I ask myself, do I think everybody is making this assumption? If I do, I make it. But if I don't, I simply don't. Right? This is so important because I can't tell you how many times I've been running an exam prep seminar and I ask the group, has anybody come up with a different answer? And then I get a student that, shouts out this really out there assumption that they made, and it's usually the smartest guy in the room, but he thinks he's outsmarting everybody, and in reality what he's done is he's thought himself out of a mark. So when making an assumption, only do so if you're really, really confident everybody is making the same assumption. With that in mind, let's take a peek at a question. All right, if you look at the screen now, you'll see a relatively easy question. And I've selected an easy one because really the point of this video is not really to teach you anything, but to highlight why it's so important that you only make reasonable assumptions. So in this question, you've got Arnold, who purchased an annuity within a registered plan. Now, as you know, registered plans like RSPs or RIFs are tax sheltered. The annual income payment is $10,000, and Arnold is in a 40% tax bracket, and you're being asked, what would the tax implications be? Would he owe $2,000 in taxes or $4,000? Or do we need to know the breakdown of principal and interest? Or are there no tax implications because it's held within a registered plan? Well, we're going to need to make an assumption here. We may struggle with, is that income payment staying within the RIF or registered plan, or is it actually being paid out to Arnold? That would obviously impact the answer, and it really doesn't say. But a reasonable assumption is if you own an annuity which makes income payments within a registered plan, well, it's safe to assume that those payments are actually going to come out of the plan and go to Arnold, and therefore those payments would be taxable. So if that $10,000 actually came out of the registered plan, it's like a withdrawal. The full amount would be subject to tax. So we'd simply take $10,000, multiply it by his 40% tax bracket, and come up with an answer of B, $4,000. Let's select it. And of course, we are correct. So as you can see, this is a question where we needed to make an assumption. I feel like I made a reasonable assumption, and most people tackling this question would have made the same assumption. You'll get lots of practice, though, when you're working with the SeeWhy Learning questions, because like I said at the top of this video, it really is an art. Thank you, everybody. I hope you found this video helpful, and keep up the great work.